Welcome back to RBP. It is me, Ross Bolen, here as always with my main man, J-Bone, Jared Borislow. What up, dog?
Hello.
Over the weekend at my wedding, my high school besties and I were discussing the lamest words that we used as kids, like mainly in high school. Like right now, probably the most egregiously lame word that the Zoomers are using that they'll be embarrassed about one day would be cheugy. Are you familiar with cheugy?
Yeah, isn't it
Jared?
isn't it like janky?
According to slangman.com, which I've never referenced before, cheugy is a term you will use on someone when they're opting for a trend that's only cool a long time ago but is now regarded as basic and normal. It can also be used to refer to anything that's super mainstream.
Did not know what that meant until right now.
Cheugy. So yeah, the two we thought up over the weekend, my friends and I, that we were embarrassed about using and the frequency of our use were crunk, number one. Do you remember crunk?
Yeah, it was Lil Jon, right?
Yeah, Lil Jon and the East Side Boys forced this word on all of us in like 1997. It's a really long time ago. But when I was in high school, 2001 to 2005, it completely took over. Everyone was getting crunk, and this was crunk, that was crunk, and in hindsight, it was incredibly cheesy and weird. But we used that, like, I'm not exaggerating. Like, that was like a top 5 word for like 2 years.
Can you please use it in a sentence right now?
Man, that party on Saturday got really crunk. It's like turned up. It's the same it's lit. This predated being lit or turned up. You just got crunk, and that was it. Also, the other one that we were just like, what the hell? Fool. Did you use this? Like when you text your boys, would you be like, what's up, fool? Hey, fool. I called every single one of my friends fool for like a half a decade. Like, what up, fool? I mean, so many wall posts, Facebook wall posts with the word fool. And why? We were all just calling each other fools? Fool is an insult. The definition is a person who acts unwisely or imprudently. A silly person. And that's how we addressed each other.
But if it's a term of endearment, it's like when you call me dumb little bitch boy, like I know you mean it with love.
That's true.
I know you don't mean it by the actual definition.
What up, fool? Jared, you were a huge YOLO guy.
Uh-huh.
That's what you told me, right?
Yeah.
Just couldn't stop YOLOing.
I loved it.
You only live once.
And then Jake put that song out. He should pay me royalties.
Yeah.
I think I came up with it.
And you were always on fleek back in the day, too, you basic bitch. I bet you're triggered right now.
How about, we used to always say, like, in middle school, like, oh, that's gangster.
Gangster?
Uh-huh.
Man, that's gangster.
And now I'm realizing most of the stuff we said in middle school is stuff that Guy Fieri says unironically now.
That makes sense, though.
Dude, that's out of
tracks.
bounds.
That tracks. That's out of bounds.
That's gangster,
Nobody
man.
says that.
That's Guy Fieri. He says it. My man.
He does use the word gangster a lot. Anyway, let this be a lesson to you, Gen Z. It might be fun to call me cheugy right now, today. But a decade down the line, it will be your shame, not mine. Today's episode is brought to you by Birddogs. Birddogs, making the most comfortable shorts in the world. With the built-in underwear you know and love for living life and making love, it's like wear shorts with underwear. When you can wear even better shorts with built-in underwear, thus creating less laundry, thus saving the planet, thus making you a hero who's also better looking and more comfortable. But did you know they make pants as well? Pants for work, pants for play, pants for golf. They've got joggers that are next level comfortable. Birddogs have completely changed the game. Their shorts, pants, and joggers are made from the finest high-quality material and come with built-in liners that cradle your stovepipe for all-day comfort. Who the fuck likes being uncomfortable? If you're not wearing Birddogs, you probably poop with your pants on. It's time to upgrade the shorts and pants of the future. Your balls will thank you. Go to birddogs.com, enter promo code ROSS, and they'll throw in a free Birddogs Yeti tumbler. They found Yeti's $90 tumbler, copied it, and now Birddogs is giving it away to you with your purchase when you use code ROSS, that's Ross, at checkout. On birddogs.com, promo code Ross, boom, a free Birddogs tumbler with your pair of Birddogs. You will not take these things off, I promise you. Just use code Ross today when you check out on birddogs.com to support the show and score yourself that Birddogs tumbler. I've got some insane headlines of the day. First off, a Florida sheriff arrested his own daughter, charging her with meth trafficking. It's a Florida woman this time, not the Florida man. But from Fox 26 Houston, a sheriff in Florida arrested his own daughter on drug charges as his department continues its war on addictive substances. Phrasing. Franklin County Sheriff A.J. Smith gave a statement on April 19th confirming that his daughter, Kristen Kent, had been arrested under suspicion of meth trafficking 2 days prior. Quote, methamphetamine does not discriminate, and neither do we, Smith wrote on Facebook. It does not matter who you are. No one is immune or exempt, end quote.
Really making an example out of her.
Right? He wrote, our hearts break over the grief meth causes all, whether you use it, sell it, or love someone who's involved with it. If you want to break free from this lifestyle, we want to help you. The arrest is just the latest in the sheriff's longstanding war on drugs. Smith regularly updates his constituents on recent arrests and legal developments on Facebook, which just seems like not a good idea.
No, Facebook is essentially the internet for Floridians.
And old people.
If you live in, that's Floridians, right?
That's just the internet.
If you live in Florida, all you have is Facebook. It's like you log onto a web browser and you can only access Facebook pages. That's where Floridians live.
Well, this dude's daughter is now facing counts of methamphetamine trafficking and cocaine possession along with other charges, which I don't really know what to make of that. Couldn't he have gotten somebody else to do it? You know what I mean? I just feel like if my kid gets into drugs and I'm a cop in charge of drugs, and even if I find out, I'm probably going to get one of the other drug cops to take care of this one. You know, because it's my daughter. But
I feel like this
Florida,
reminds
man,
me
different rules in Florida.
It reminds me of something some like sort of relationship you'd see in the TV show Yellowstone, right? Like, person who's involved with the government, the kid fucks up, but instead of doing what John Dutton would do and like get him out of it, he's like, hey, fuck you. I guess a Florida version of Yellowstone would be like Yellow Teeth.
Okay,
right?
You just invented the concept for a great show.
I know.
The Florida version of Yellowstone would be something else. That would be something else.
We have to protect our swamp.
Oh God, what would John Dutton's name be if it was the Florida show though? What's like the most Florida ass name? Like Zach something. I feel like
Zach
Glansbury.
I don't know, not Glansbury. It'd be like Zach Smith.
That's it.
We're not letting Disney build a park on our land.
Florida has massive beef with Disney now.
I swear to God, I'll kill every fucking alligator in this lake before I let Disney take my land. And my grandpa's been hunting alligators for 35 years in this land.
I'll decapitate Mickey and Minnie.
I promised my grandpa, who's also my uncle, that he'd never let this land get out of the family.
Somebody please make this show. We don't have time, but somebody's got to make Yellowstone for Florida. This would be a must-watch TV.
I've been watching a lot of Yellowstone lately, if you can't tell.
Yeah.
By my John Dutton.
I got out after season, I want to say 2.
I just finished, actually, the current series last night.
Where is it now? 4?
4.
4. Yeah, I can't. It's just it's too ridiculous. It's a soap opera on a ranch. It's great, but it's incredibly dramatic.
It makes me feel like I'm outside.
That's fair.
That's why I like it.
It's fun for watching it for that reason. Next headline. U.S. bride and caterer arrested for allegedly drugging guests with cannabis. Look, a lot of people saw this headline and sent this shit to me. This is not my wedding. Stop making that joke. This is also in Florida, where I did not get married in Florida. From the BBC, police in Florida have arrested a bride and her caterer after finding they allegedly added cannabis to food that was later served to wedding guests. I do wonder what percentage of our guests at our wedding were actually concerned with this happening to them. The arrest came some 2 months after officials were called to the wedding to assist guests who said they felt as though they had been drugged. Danya Svobodka and caterer Jocelyn Bryan faced charges of tampering, negligence, and delivery of marijuana. Officials made the arrests after testing food and drinks from the party. So they had to show up to this party where all these guests are like... I'm trying to imagine how this even unfolds. Like, you drug all your party guests. Now, in the past, when I've imagined what it would be like to accidentally consume drugs, it's usually hallucinogens, right? You imagine like what it would be like if accidentally somebody spiked you with LSD or with magic mushrooms, and then suddenly you were tripping balls. You would freak the hell out. Now, if I was just all of a sudden a little bit high, I'm not sure exactly how scared I would be, but that's where we get to talking about edibles, which everybody knows are very difficult to judge, even in 2022, where they're manufactured and there are regulations in the states where edibles are legal. You still sometimes, it's difficult. How many milligrams? Why is this one 250 milligrams? That one's 10 milligrams. Some of them might take 5 milligrams and I'm stoned. Others it's 15 or 25. It's just a mess out there. And I'm imagining that this caterer maybe didn't do the best job of distributing the dosage. So these people might have been stoned off their gourd, like flipping out. But like, so what? They just started calling the police? That was the next move? Is that what you would do if you found yourself suddenly high? You would phone 911 like, I'm fucking high. I don't know why. I'm at a wedding.
Yeah, I don't know how they found this out.
I got to get y'all got to come out here. So they go out there.
And bring some Jack in the Box.
Some potato chips. They go out there and they start testing they take the food and the drinks, I guess. They test it. This wedding took place on February 19th in Longwood, Central Florida.
Longwood, that was your nickname in high school.
It is. It's still my nickname. Responding deputies wrote in their incident report that several of the 50 guests presented reporting feeling weird after eating meatballs, Caesar salad, tortellini, and bread with an olive oil and herb dip.
I think I know what the herb was.
Guests were complaining of stomach pains and vomiting. So, okay, they were big high. If you're puking from weed, you have consumed far too much weed, just like with alcohol. If you're puking, you drank too much.
Yeah, your body's telling you that.
And it's getting rid of it so that you don't die or pass out or lose your mind. Several people were transported to the hospital for treatment. One guest told officers he felt, quote, tingly, his heart started to race, and he was having crazy thoughts.
That's not what you want to hear.
Crazy thoughts, huh? Look, smoking weed turns you inward. It makes you look inside yourself and think about things that you normally wouldn't address. And for some people, that makes them incredibly uncomfortable, like these wedding guests. Another guest thought her son-in-law had died and that her family was keeping information from her. She became incredibly paranoid, which also happens to people who consume too much marijuana or that don't consume marijuana and aren't used to it and then consume an amount that would make them uncomfortable. She was taken to the hospital where she became, quote, loud and unruly and had to be given something to calm down.
If you want to get a sedative, just get really high.
By accident. Have somebody drug you. And then you can go to the hospital and get hooked up. According to officials, Mrs. Svoboda was asked by police at the scene whether she had allowed for drugs to be put into the guest's food, and she denied it. One guest, Miranda Caddy, said she witnessed a member of the catering staff adding a, quote, green substance to a dish that would later contain olive oil. You were correct, Bone. Those were the herbs and spices. Quote, it should be noted what Miranda Caddy was referring to is commonly referred to as marijuana shake, which is the small scraps that fall off of larger amounts of marijuana, which makes it sound like she just took shake and dumped it into the food and like mixed it up, which that's not even how you create.
Maybe that's why they got stomach aches.
Edibles. That's just pouring weed into food and then making people eat it. Miss Caddy also claimed the bride admitted to adding cannabis to the olive oil while the pair were on the dance floor. And the caterer and her staff had left the party before police could question them at the scene. So what? The caterer and the staff were like, all right, fine, we'll drug all these people, but we got to get the fuck out of here as soon as we do so that when the cops show up, we're gone. So they collected the glassware and the food to be tested, including chocolate-covered strawberries, pudding, desserts, and lasagna. Officials say that bread and lasagna later tested positive for THC, a psychoactive chemical in marijuana. 3 guests also tested positive for the drug. Miss Svoboda and Miss Bryan were arrested, and it is unclear if they have hired lawyers to represent them. I'm imagining that they probably will. This is an insane move.
It's Florida. They're probably getting public defenders.
Who does this, though?
I don't understand what the point of drugging people at a wedding is.
I mean, I know a lot of stoners, all right? I do not know a single one that would do this. You just don't do, like, dude, I'm trying to imagine, like, here's the thing. As a guy who doesn't drink alcohol, for example, you don't put substances in people's shit that they don't know are there. If you spike my drink and I drink it, that's not funny. I'm going to whoop your ass. That's almost 5 years of sobriety down the drain. This, you know, what if one of the guests was a drug addict, a recovering drug addict, and this knocked him off the wagon or whatever? It's just a fucking crazy move. And to do enough, like to put enough weed into the food that people are puking and like having psychotic episodes and going to the hospital, my God.
Okay, what's a more psychotic move? Drugging people at your wedding or putting drugs in your candy and then giving it to trick-or-treaters?
The candy with the trick-or-treaters, because those are the children. Mm-hmm. You can't drug the
children.
They're
our future.
I think the most psychotic move would be like dosing everyone at a funeral with LSD. Could you imagine like standing next to a coffin as it's being lowered into the ground and suddenly you're just high as shit on acid? That would be absolutely horrifying. Not the way that I want to spend a funeral.
Do you want to be put into a coffin when you die?
No. No. Just bury a box. Put me somewhere nice.
No, don't even put me in a box. Literally.
Don't put me in the box. Bury the box empty. I do not want my body in that box.
Don't bury the box. What a waste.
I still want a box.
No, you don't get a box.
I feel like I need a nice box.
Don't have the box.
Put something in the box, just not me.
Don't need it. What's in the box?
What's in the box?
Now, here's what I say. Think about when humans take away all of the technology and advancements. Go back to the days of when we were the same as all the other animals.
Right.
In terms of how we roam this earth. When you die,
you just fell over and died.
Fell over, and either the buzzards would pick at you, or you would be buried, and then the worms and shit. I don't want the buzzards to eat me. It seems like a bit much for my family and friends to see.
But you want to become one with the earth?
No, dig a hole, throw my body in the hole, cover the hole up, and I will be eaten by the earth.
You want a mafia burial.
Yes.
Like you were executed by the mob. You want us to dig a hole, enroll you into it, and fill it with dirt and let the earth consume you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to be, what's it called, where they turn you into ashes? Cremated. And then I want my ashes in your home specifically. I want you staring at a jar of me when you eat dinner.
Me specifically.
Middle of your kitchen table.
Not your family.
Please.
Not your wife.
No, my co-host. You.
Okay.
Just Bill in a jar, middle of the kitchen table, rest of your life.
Can I make you into a diamond and then wear you on my penis?
Yes. I will also give you permission to Prince Albert your dong as long as it is studded with a diamond that is created from my ashes. And that's that. Today's episode is also brought to you by Manscaped. Have you started spring cleaning yet? The carpets need cleaning, the drapes need dusting, and your lawn needs mowing. Spring is sprung, and the global leaders in below-the-waist grooming have the best tools for cleaning aisle 5 in your pants. Time to clear out your winter brush and join the other 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping when you use the code RBP at checkout. Manscaped has the full package you need for spring cleaning this year. The Performance Package 4.0 is the only tool you need to keep your boys looking and smelling like the fresh tulips your partner wants. To start your spring cleaning, use the Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer to get the most precise shave on your hedges. Did we mention it's waterproof as well? So no need to worry about watering your grass with this tool equipped with an LED light so you know it'll be a major asset to the new shower routine. You clean your holes and smell the spring air with the Weed Whacker as well, which is the nose and ear hair trimmer provided by Manscaped in that package with the proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes. After clearing your nose, make sure to get rid of that foul ball smell, Jared, with the Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver. The Crop Preserver is an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. The Reviver is a spray-on toner for your balls to keep them nice and toned. Keep your boys from sticking to your leg and leave them smelling like fresh flowers. Finish off your grooming routine with the Plow 2.0, the perfect razor for the finest shave on your face, because if you're using your Lawnmower 4.0 on your balls and your face, you are doing it wrong. You need a separate tool for your face than you do for your junk. 20% off plus free shipping. Code RBP at manscaped.com. Manscaped.com. Code RBP. It's time to throw out your old hygiene habits and upgrade your life.
Grab your light. This is Stop the Wikipedia when you're high.
Stop the Wikipedia when you're high.
Today's Stuff the Wikipedia when you're high is the flying spaghetti monster.
Talk about things from my middle school years.
Okay, so I remember hearing about the FSM, as it's known, the flying spaghetti monster, but I didn't know any of the details. I feel like I learned of it through South Park, perhaps. Like there was a South Park flying spaghetti monster situation. But man, this is some crazy shit, so listen up. The flying spaghetti monster, FSM, is the deity of the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, or Pastafarianism, like Rastafarianism, except it's Pastafarianism, a social movement that promotes a lighthearted view of religion. It originated in opposition to the teaching of intelligent design in public schools, and according to adherents, Pastafarianism, a portmanteau of pasta and Rastafarianism, is a real, legitimate religion as much as any other, It has received some limited recognition as such, and the Flying Spaghetti Monster was first described in a satirical open letter written by Bobby Henderson in 2005. As this dude in his 20s, he was protesting Kansas State's Board of Education's decision to permit teaching intelligent design as an alternative to evolution in public school science classes. So in the letter, he demanded equal time in science classrooms be dedicated to the Flying Spaghetti Monster and Flying Spaghetti Monsterism alongside intelligent design and evolution. And after he published the letter on his website, the Flying Spaghetti Monster rapidly became an internet phenomenon and a symbol of opposition to the teaching of intelligent design in public schools. So obviously a huge issue, I would call it, in our country since its inception has been this idea of the separation of church and state, right? And for those who have paid close attention to the way our country is run, it is limited, that separation. Our country's laws are Christian-based for the most part, right? And that's counterintuitive to the very system that we're supposed to have, which separates the two, church and state. So it's from that standpoint, I understand how the Flying Spaghetti Monster came to be. The central creation myth, and this is where things get interesting, is that an invisible and undetectable flying spaghetti monster created the universe after drinking heavily. Pirates are revered as the original Pastafarians, which makes it shocking that I didn't know about this religion because we are a pirate podcast. I had no idea there was a pirate tie, and it makes it all that more exciting. The FSM community congregates at Henderson's website to share ideas about and sightings of the Flying Spaghetti Monster and display crafts representing images of it. The Pastafarian conception of heaven includes a beer volcano and a stripper, or sometimes prostitute, factory.
The factory that makes them?
A factory for strippers. And sometimes prostitutes.
How are they created at the factories? By intelligent design?
I don't know. There's like elves in there, like putting the strippers and the prostitutes together, but there's a beer volcano as well. No mention of pot, which is sad. The Pastafarian hell is similar, except that the beer is stale and all the strippers and prostitutes have sexually transmitted diseases. STDs. According to Pastafarian beliefs, pirates are, quote, absolute divine beings and the original Pastafarians. Furthermore, Pastafarians believe that the concept of pirates as thieves and outcasts is misinformation spread by Christian theologians in the Middle Ages. Instead, Pastafarians believe that they were peace-loving explorers and spreaders of goodwill, which would be in line with sort of the new HBO show, what is it called? Our Flag Means Death, which was really good. It says pirates distributed candy to small children, adding that modern pirates are in no way similar to the fun-loving buccaneers from history. I'm not sure how accurate any of that is, because I've read a lot about these pirates. We've talked about many of them, and badass pirates you haven't heard of on our show.
They didn't do a lot of good things.
They were mostly doing murders and stealing. So it's an interesting take from the Pastafarians. They also believe that ghost pirates are responsible for all of the mysteriously lost ships and planes of the Bermuda Triangle. It's a very specific belief. They are among those who celebrate International Talk Like a Pirate Day on September 19th as well, the Pastafarians. And the inclusion of pirates in the Pastafarianism was part of Henderson's original letter to the Kansas State Board of Education in an effort to illustrate that correlation does not imply causation. I'm not smart enough to understand that sentence. Henderson presented the argument that, quote, global warming, earthquakes, hurricanes, and other natural disasters are a direct effect of the shrinking numbers of pirates since the 1800s.
Correlation and causation right there.
I have always blamed the loss of honeybees on the lack of pirates. So it's a similar take from me. Also, a deliberately misleading graph accompanying the letter with numbers humorously disordered on the x-axis shows that as the number of pirates decreased, global temperatures increased. So, again, according to Pastafarian, global warming caused by a lack of pirating. How the hell do you jump there?
Again, classical pirating, not like Somali pirates.
Not Somali pirating. Classical buccaneer hijinks is needed to stop the warming of the globe and the melting of the polar ice caps. This parodies the suggestion from some religious groups that the high number of disasters, famines, and wars in the world is due to the lack of respect and worship toward their deity. So that's supposed to be the big joke for the FSM folks. In 2008, Henderson interpreted the growing pirate activities at the Gulf of Aden as additional support, pointing out that Somalia has, quote, the highest number of pirates and the lowest carbon emissions of any country. So he actually did drag the Somalians into it. Pastafarian beliefs extend into lighthearted religious ceremony. They celebrate every Friday as a holy day. Not Sunday, Friday. And I like that choice. Good way to kickstart the weekend with a holy day. Prayers are concluded with a final declaration of affirmation, quote, Ramen, instead of Amen. But you say
Ramen.
Yeah, the term is a parodic portmanteau of the terms Amen and Ramen.
I love when you say, so I believe it's pronounced portmanteau.
Portmanteau.
But when you say
portmanteau,
it reminds me, that's a roller coaster at Busch Gardens. the Montu.
Referring to instant noodles and to the noodly appendages of their deity. These ties in, though. Spaghetti monster, ramen. The celebration of Passover requires consuming large amounts of pasta. Pastover. And during Ramadan, only ramen noodles are consumed. And also International Talk Like a Pirate Day is observed as a holiday. Do they have to work on that day? Not sure. Around the time of Christmas, Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa, Pastafarians celebrate a vaguely defined holiday named Holiday. Holiday does not take place on, quote, a specific date so much as it is the holiday season itself, according to Henderson, as Pastafarians, quote, reject dogma and formalism. There are no specific requirements for the holiday. So it's just called a holiday, and they celebrate it in any manner they please. There are no rules, and it's a season, not a day. So they're beating both the Christians and the Jews with just a whole season of God knows what.
It is kind of fucked if you think about it. Like, our holidays are just days. It's like, oh, yeah, you get off Christmas Eve and Christmas to celebrate Christmas, right? Like, imagine getting a whole, month off of work to celebrate something.
Holiday.
It's
holiday.
Can we have holiday off here at Bolen Media?
I don't know about that, Jared. Why don't you slow your roll? Pastafarians interpret the increasing usage of happy holidays rather than more traditional greetings such as Merry Christmas as support for Pastafarianism. In December 2005, George W. Bush's White House Christmas greeting cards wished people a happy holiday season, leading Henderson to write the president a note of thanks, including a fish emblem depicting the flying spaghetti monster for his limousine or plane. Now, you've seen the Christian fish bumper sticker on cars, surely, over the course of your life. There's a flying spaghetti monster version of that Henderson sent to George W. Bush, rather. And there is so much more. Like, we could have done this entire episode on just the FSM, the flying spaghetti monster. It's one of the most substantial Wikipedia pages I have ever seen. And if you want to learn more, you're going to have to go, because that's all my brain can handle for one day. What an awesome fake religion. As some people argue, all religions are. Today's RBP is also brought to you by NordVPN. NordVPN is here to drastically enhance your web browsing experience and data security. No one likes to be watched or tracked, even if they have nothing to hide. That's why it's important you step up your privacy game whenever possible. If you're not using a VPN right now, you're open to having your internet data creeped on in a big way, potentially. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. It's a service that protects your internet connection and privacy online, creates an encrypted tunnel for your data, protects your online identity by hiding your IP address, and allows you to use public Wi-Fi hotspots and more. They're the only way to be sure that your real location and IP addresses are hidden, your data is encrypted, and your browsing history is invisible to your internet service provider and other third parties. That's what a VPN does. Everybody who cares about their privacy should be using a VPN right now, and NordVPN is the best and fastest VPN provider in the business. It's software, not hardware. Super easy to use across every major platform, whether it be Windows, Android, iOS, macOS, and Linux. Even your Android TV supports NordVPN. You can connect with just one click or enable auto-connect for zero-click protection. It's awesome. If you travel abroad, you finally get that vacation in, let's say, you can make sure you still have access to your favorite shows from your home country on location-based streamers like Netflix using NordVPN. I know a lot of people, when they go do study abroad, for example, like in Europe or whatever. You have to use a VPN if you still want to access your streaming accounts and be able to watch all your stuff, especially if you're going to like China or certain areas of Europe or whatever. But at this point, it's obviously important that we all take our own steps to protect our privacy online. So grab your exclusive RBP NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/Bolen, Bolen, to get a huge discount on your NordVPN plan plus free threat protection and 1 additional month for free. This deal is completely risk-free with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose except a sense of security. There is a link for that deal in the description of this episode. Thank you again to NordVPN for supporting RBP. And again, that's NordVPN.com/Bolen, code Bolen. Jared, HBO's Game of Thrones prequel, titled House of the Dragon, is coming August 21st. And as everyone here should know, we will be covering it episode by episode on our companion podcast, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, formerly the #1 Game of Thrones podcast in the realm. We just found out yesterday, I believe it were, how much HBO spent per episode of this new series that's coming in August 21st, House of the Dragon. First off, a little bit of information about the show for those of you who don't know. It's set up 2 centuries before the events of Game of Thrones, okay? It's a 10-episode prequel series titled House of the Dragon. It's going to depict how House Targaryen fell into a bitter and brutal civil war known as the Dance of the Dragons, which is obviously the title of one of the books in A Song of Ice and Fire, but that's not the story that we're going to be getting here. Presaging the beginning of the end of Westeros' ruling family, though, it says, the series was created by George R.R. Martin and Ryan Condal of Colony, based on Martin's novel Fire and Blood, which we actually have a copy of in this room. I have not read a single page of it and will not be reading a single page of it. I've given every minute of my time to George R.R. Martin's books that I'm willing to give after I read all of the currently existing books in A Song of Ice and Fire after watching season 1 of Game of Thrones. So Condal and director Miguel Sapochnik being one of the most famous directors from the original Game of Thrones series, they're executive producers and co-showrunners on this series. So it's got no involvement from Benioff and Weiss, the dudes who handled and then horribly mishandled the ending of the original series Game of Thrones. Martin and Vince Gerardis are executive producing as well, alongside Sarah Hess, Jocelyn Diaz, Ron Schmidt, Claire Kittner, Gita V. Patel, and George Yatnis. From Variety, HBO's House of the Dragon cost under $20 million per episode to produce its 10-episode first season, which debuts August 21st. A source close to production told Variety. Now, here's the thing that's crazy to me. Every single article I've been able to find about this budget that they had seems surprised that they spent under $20 million. They almost exclusively use that word, under $20 million. Now, when I look at the numbers for comparison, like Game of Thrones cost $100 million per season, and its per episode price tag began at like $6 million per in season 1, okay? It rose up to like $15 million per episode for the show's 8th and final season. Now, if you were going to tell me that this show was getting $20 million per, I wouldn't say under. Like that's more than every season of the prior show, which had a hell of a budget, shit ton of special effects, and all the dragons and violence and giant armies, and like I just wouldn't expect this to cost much more than that, right? So they're really going in hard, and one of the reasons for that HBO has decided to invest so much money here is that Amazon's upcoming Lord of the Rings TV series, The Rings of Power, is apparently costing $465 million to produce its 8-episode first season.
Jesus.
Okay, and that's on top of like, I think they paid $500 million for the rights to even do that at Amazon. And apparently that price tag for Amazon Prime and Lord of the Rings, which debuts September 2nd, The Rings of Power, that includes like startup costs for launching the series that will presumably spread out over multiple seasons. So a lot of that money is going to be for set pieces and crazy shit that they're going to be using the whole time. So you can kind of look at it as an investment in that way. But all in all, another example, Netflix shelled out $30 million for each episode of Stranger Things 4, which comes out in 2 batches in May and July this year. But that's a established series, like one of the most successful television series in history at this point. For Netflix is Stranger Things, right? Everybody fucking watches Stranger Things. It's a huge, huge, huge hit. So it makes sense that they'd have that kind of budget because they've brought in that kind of cheddar for Netflix already. This is a first season that we're talking about with House of the Dragon after a massive L in the closing of Game of Thrones. So you got to put you got to put 20 mil up for each episode. And that's an exciting figure for me. I'm happy to hear it because HBO has already stated that as a result of their experience making Game of Thrones, making all the different shows that they did last year, that they believe they can create higher quality with less money than any other production company. That they have the experience, wherewithal, and they know how to cut all the corners and make everything cost less, so that this should be one of the most highly produced shows ever made. I obviously am heavily invested in the success of House of the Dragon. Just Bolen Media as a whole is, because of how much success we had during Game of Thrones with our podcast, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. Looking forward to having all of you tune in. Whether or not you watched Game of Thrones, I don't really care. I think you got to watch House of the Dragon, and you got to take it on episode by episode with me and Mr. Barrett Dudley on our Game of Thrones podcast, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, which will be focusing every single week during that series run exclusively on House of the Dragon. We'll probably be doing 2 episodes per episode of the show, one that's recapping and one that's hotline calls. We don't have all of our plans nailed in yet, but we're really looking forward to it and excited to dive back into Westeros with everybody when the time comes here a little bit later in the summer. So I gotta say, during the pandemic, I expected there to be this outpouring of incredible art. I talked about it at the beginning of it. I was like, all these artists, these writers, these movie makers, they're all going to be stuck at home with nothing to do but create, right? And then that ended up being not the case. There was so much limitation on production, on people's ability to get deals done, and then on the side of production companies, they weren't as willing to pump out big budget stuff during the pandemic. How many movies got pushed back? Dune was pushed back 2 freaking years. The James Bond movie was pushed back. There were Marvel movies pushed back. The pandemic really shut down a lot of the entertainment industry. And what has happened instead is that 2022 now is the first year where I'm seeing this is the best year of TV I've seen in a minute. And I have to give a nod to HBO in particular because just even right now, watching Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty, which is one of my favorite shows I've ever watched. It's so hard to make a sports show fun.
Isn't Jerry West suing them?
Oh, yeah, he's extremely upset. He looks like a doofus. Because Jerry West, who's the logo of the NBA, okay? Jerry West, one of the most famous basketball players in the history of the sport, is portrayed as a total nut job on Winning Time. He was retired and not employed by the team on the show. Winning Time, but would not leave and was a drunk rageaholic type of character. So they really made him look like a bit of a nut, and he's extremely pissed off and suing. The thing about that makes him look like an asshole is there's a giant disclaimer at the beginning and end of every single episode of Winning Time that says, this is fake. We took a story based on a book. We gathered as many facts and information as we could, but this is for entertainment. It's an entertainment television show. So Jerry West just looks like a psycho trying to sue this is going to be... This show only is what everybody will judge Jerry West off of, when he's dead and gone. He's an old fucking man. I don't even know why he cares. But between Winning Time and We Own This City and, there was several shows last year even that HBO had, they've really built up momentum back to where, I looked at HBO during the run of Game of Thrones and really prior to that even, ever since The Sopranos and The Wire, as a cut above every other television studio. And they have gotten back to that place where I look at, Amazon Prime, Netflix, Hulu, Paramount Plus, Apple TV Plus, and there are a lot of great shows on every network, but nobody is cranking out shows with the consistency that HBO is, and HBO Max specifically now, I should say. So excited to see what the rest of the year brings TV and entertainment-wise. We have so many good movies and TV shows coming out, many of which we will discuss on Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. In other news, the NFL Draft starts tonight. And for the first time in years, I'm actually looking forward to watching my Houston Texans Amber Heard the bed with their picks. Our organization, my football team, is run by morons, and I imagine that will continue to be the way things go.
What pick do you have?
3.
Who are you projected to get by Mel Kiper?
I have no fucking
What do you
clue.
need? Everything?
Everything. We need everything except a quarterback. If we draft a quarterback, I'm going to shit.
Are you all in on Davis Mills?
We have no choice. The neck is our guy.
Okay, do you need a wide receiver?
Yeah. We need everything else. Linemen on both sides of the ball. People who can catch footballs would be nice. That's helpful. A guy that can run would be tight. We need a lot. But
don't you have David Johnson?
I think he moved on. But we did. We traded, I believe, DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson. Great move. Also, can we use Amber Heard as a verb now? Like for shitting the bed?
I think so.
Right? I think that's, for all the horrors that trial has exposed, at the very least, we got a new verb joke. Amber Hearding the bed. It's not all that uncommon. People don't admit to it much. But people shit the bed, Jared.
I've never pooped the bed, I don't think.
No, well, maybe when you were a small child.
I mean, maybe when I was a small child, but I never really slept naked. In order to poop the bed, you need to be sleeping naked.
You never knew anybody who got
I know
drunk and they would shit themselves?
Who have done that.
But like, was there anybody you knew in college that was like a regular bed shitter?
No, they were regular stand up and pee on their laundry guy.
I knew a lot of dudes who were regular bed peers, like way too many in hindsight.
No, he wouldn't pee in the bed. He would stand up and go pee on his laundry, and because he said, "Well, I'm going to go wash it anyway."
That's classic. Jesus. But I did know one person. It was like a degree removed from me. It was a female who was notorious for like when she blacked out, she would poop everywhere. And I don't mean like in the bed. I mean like wherever. Like one time somebody went into the bathroom the next day after she had spent the night, and the walls were covered in feces. Never found out why. So, don't drink too much, kids.
That's not good.
So it's not good for your tummy, Go to bolenmedia.com/shop to grab some RBP merch, some Formula Bone merch, some Oysters, Clams, and Cockles merch. All the good merch right there on bolenmedia.com/shop for you to support RBP and everything we've got going here at Bolen Media. By the way, if you are a member on patreon.com/Ross Bolen podcast, you got a 10% off code there to purchase yourself some bolenmedia.com/merch and also, or /shop. And also, every Friday, Jared and I do a third episode. Like this is our last free episode of this week, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening. But on Fridays, we do an ad-free premium episode.
And this Friday's episode is mega special.
It's going to be awesome. Jared's out of town. Me and Content Kate are going to be sitting down. I'm going to be talking through a lot more of my wedding, the big weekend I had, telling some more stories, and reflecting on, some of the more intimate details of the wedding and the ceremony and the after party and everything for those who are interested, because like I said earlier in the week, it just makes more sense on Patreon. It's just more personal discussion, smaller audience, our biggest supporters. So if you're interested in that, if you want those ad-free episodes every Friday, if you're missing out on 1/3 of the show every week, go to patreon.com/Ross Bolen podcast today, and you'll immediately gain access to our entire backlog of episodes, columns, and more, as well as grabbing yourself that 10% off coupon for bolenmedia.com/shop. Follow us on social media at the Ross Bolen podcast on TikTok, where we appreciate every single one of you who comments and likes and shares our videos. It goes a long way to making sure that we get more exposure. Like, comment, share on TikTok as much as you can at the Ross Bolen podcast. Thank you very much, Cotcast. Instagram at the Ross Bolen podcast. Same thing applies, but we don't really give a fuck. Do it on TikTok. It's much more important. Twitter at Ross Bolen pod. We'll see what Elon does. It's not a growth platform right now. TikTok is the only one that we really care about. Please follow us, like all of our shit, comment on all of our shit.
And YouTube.
And YouTube. YouTube's getting huge. Man, our YouTube's blowing up because of their little TikTok platform they've got called YouTube Shorts. But we're killing it. Jared's got like 35,000 subscribers on YouTube now. RBP's nearing 10. We've been at like 3,000 our whole existence. Finally finding some momentum on YouTube as well, which is cool. Follow Jared at Jared Borislow on Instagram and Twitter. Formula Bone at Formula Bone everywhere. And follow me at WR Bolen. As I said, we will be back on Friday. Me and Content Cade. Special episode exclusively on Patreon for our supporters in the RBP gang, our enforcers and OGs. Until next time, peace be with you and also with you.